Hello, hello, hello. How are you guys doing today? Big announcement. I have a huge announcement for you guys. Are you ready? I finally finished the Sister Wife book by Christine Brown Woolley. Can you believe it? I finally finished it. No, it actually didn't take me that long to finish it. I listened to it on Audible. I listen to a lot of Audible books, but I also read a lot of physical copy books. I listened to it on Audible specifically because I wanted to listen to Christine narrate it. So I finished it over the weekend. I took some notes. I want to get into all the surprises, all the things that she exposed about the family and the TV show. Honestly, there really wasn't a lot that she exposed, or I thought it would be filled with all these like secrets. Like if you're going to write this book, it's not like she can like, you know, I mean, she could write 2 or 3 more books, but it's not like on the 3rd book, she can come out and be like, okay, now I want to tell you all the secrets. I mean, this is kind of like her chance, right? To come out and be like, let me expose all the secrets. And I kind of was surprised that she didn't. I thought the book, my, just initial reaction was that she was very fair to almost everybody, I think, except for Mary. And I think even Mary, she was pretty fair to. But Cody, I thought she was exceptionally fair to. Robin, I thought she was very, very fair to. And, Janelle and the kids and stuff like that, I thought she was really fair. I thought she was really fair to the whole situation. And I had heard that she focused a lot on her wedding and meeting David and stuff like that. And so I was not real excited about reading about all that since an entire season and a special was dedicated to that. But honestly, it was literally, I think, like the very end of the book was about that. Very little was about her and David. And that part was really more about her, becoming her own person and things like that. But we'll get into that in just a second. A couple things I want to share with you. Well, you know what? I've got to get ready for this video. Baby, I haven't even gotten ready for this video yet. I got to get ready for this video. But a couple things that, for those of you that, this is your very first video of mine that you have ever watched before. I have 8 channels. I have 8 channels on YouTube. This is just one of 8 channels that I have. And, I actually have a BookTube channel, and that's kind of where I started, that's where I started posting consistently, was on my BookTube channel. If you don't know what BookTube is a community of people that read books, they haul books, they review books, and that's what I do. And over on my BookTube channel, I do a lot of read-alongs, I do a lot of book clubs, and I read a lot of books and review a lot of books. And so that's what I do over there. So people might be asking me, well, why are you not doing this review over on your BookTube channel? And I think that's a good question. The answer to that is because I also have a TV reaction channel called Peter Watches TV, where I watch TV shows. I watch a lot of true crime, like every new true crime series that comes out or new true crime documentary that comes out. I watch it. And then I review it and react to it over there. I also watch 1,000 Pound Sisters, 1,000 Pound Roomies, Welcome to Plathville. I watch a lot of reality TV and react to it over there. And I do weekly reactions to Sister Wives episodes. So starting next Monday, a week from today, over my Peter Watches TV channel, every Monday, I will be doing a reaction to the previous night's episode of Sister Wives. Because Sister Wives premieres next Sunday. Now, I have a little bone to pick with God about this, because I did hear that the rapture is supposed to happen. I think it's supposed to happen tomorrow. I think it's supposed to happen on the 23rd or the 24th. And I have a little bit of a bone to pick with God. Listen, God, if you're watching this, and I know that God is obsessed with Sister Wives and everything Sister Wives, I mean, if I was God, I would be obsessed with all things Sister Wives, so why not? But listen, no sacrilege. This is a joke. This is a joke. Come on, settle down. But no, seriously, God, I do have a bone to pick with you, okay? Like, if the rapture is really going to happen, could you maybe, wait until, the 30th so we can at least see the premiere of Sister Wives? I at least want to see the shit show. You know what I'm saying? Could we at least wait until then? Could we at least have the season 20 Sister Wives premiere before? That's my only bone to pick with the rapture. The rest of it, listen, I'm ready. I'm ready for the rapture. Anyway, so some people were out on that. Some people are laughing. But anyway, okay, so I have this TV channel where I watch TV shows and I react to them. And I do weekly Sister Wives videos. So just a history lesson for you. When I started that channel, I think it was 2 years ago or something like that, people asked me to watch Sister Wives and to react to it. But at that time, there were 18 seasons out. And I started it, I think it was like 2 years ago, last month that I started it. And I was like, if I'm going to watch Sister Wives, I'm going to have to go back and I'm going to have to watch every episode from season 1 through season 18. And I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do that. So the following summer, which would have been last summer, a year ago summer, I went back and I binge watched Sister Wives and just fell in love with it. I just absolutely loved it. And so last year was when I started doing my reactions to it. Little did I know that season 19 of Sister Wives would be the longest season that they had ever had. I had no clue. But I had so much fun, and I had just, those were some of my favorite videos that I've ever done on any of my channels, because I just laughed and renamed people. I mean, I don't think in one video did I ever get Robin's kids' names. I mean, I call them things like Mattress and Sheet Set and Brescia and Freesia and Febreze, and I never get their names right, and I don't care, okay? So anyway, but I had so much fun doing that, and so I am so excited. I'm more excited to do the reactions, honestly, than I am about the show starting, if you want to know the truth. So over there I do the reactions, but I said what I said, okay? I said that if Sister Wives was going to come back for season 20, then I was going to come over here, because this is my drama channel, where I have done for years, beauty influencer drama, YouTuber drama, influencer drama, just stuff like that. I said that I was going to start doing reactions and pop culture drama and Sister Wives drama. I was going to start doing Sister Wives drama over here if season 20 came back, because if Sister Wives was not going to come back for a 20th season, then slowly over time, I think the interest in the Brown family and the drama and the scandal around the Brown family, I think it would slowly kind of start to die down a little bit. And so I was like, I'm not going to start, I'm not going to start doing drama about Sister Wives on its way out. You know what I mean? So, which I think people are speculating that season 20 is probably its way out too. But you know what? I'll have a good year. I'll have a good year of doing drama over here. So that's why, since I read the book, I thought this is the appropriate place to put the reaction to it, okay? I will say, though, if you guys want to know a little bit about my BookTube channel, I will say, though, that after I got done reading Christine Brown Woolley's book, Sister Wife, that I felt like I needed a little Jesus in my life. No, I did. And so now I'm reading The Pumpkin Spice Cafe by Lori Gilmore. They BJ's in the Pumpkin Spice y'all, that book is spicy. That Lori Gilmore needs Jesus. She does. I'm like, have y'all read this book? Oh my God, I only have like a third of it left. I am like so into this book. I am so into it. I'm not a romance reader. I'm not like a smut reader and all that kind of stuff. Even though my neighbor next door, she and I were supposed to read Ice Alien Barbarian this summer at the pool. But I got like 5 chapters in, she only finished 1 chapter. I don't even think she finished 1 chapter. We were kind of bored of it. But anyway, so I wanted to read these Pumpkin Spice Cafe books because I love cozy mysteries. I know it's not a cozy mystery. It's just like it's supposed to be a cozy, spicy romance, okay? So if you don't know what it's about, I'm not going to ruin it for you, but I am doing a read-along, okay? And I'm going to do all the books now, because the next one's called, I think it's called the Cinnamon Bun Bakery or something like that. I cannot wait. But anyway, so there's like 5 books in the series, and the next one comes out next year. I think it's called like The Daisy Farm something. Anyway, there's like 2 Christmas books in the series. I cannot wait. But anyway, okay, I thought it might get a little steamy. But I don't read romance, and I don't read erotica, definitely. And it's like, it's not that I wouldn't, and obviously, because I am, it's just that, like, that's not my interest. I like thrillers, and I like cozy mysteries, okay? And if you don't know what a cozy mystery is, then go over to my BookTube channel, because I just started the Cozy Mystery Book Club. I just started a Cozy Mystery Book Club over there. And you can go over there and watch it, and you can see what the first books that we're reading for September and October. Okay. But anyway, I start reading this book, and it's about this gal, her name's Jeannie, okay? And her aunt decides that she's going to retire and she's not going to close it down, but she's going to pass down the Pumpkin Spice Cafe, which is a coffee shop, to her niece, Jeannie, who lives in Boston, and she wants to move to this small town called Dream Harbor, okay? And Dream Harbor is like bookstores, and it's like on the ocean. It's like bookstores and town hall, and they have town hall meetings and book clubs. It's real cozy and homey and stuff like that, right? And then, so it's like everybody just sits around and drinks pumpkin spice lattes and stuff like that. Like, their biggest worry is, like, should I fall in love? Should I not fall in love? Like, don't you just wish that was kind of like your day? You know what I mean? Like, but anyway, so I'm like reading it, and I'm like turning pages. They're like going to city hall meetings, and like everybody's laughing at the mayor and stuff like that, and I'm laughing. It's real cute. And then like the next thing, it's like Jeannie's got like Logan's leg around her thigh, and she's like ripping at his crotch, and she's like pulling his beard, and I'm like, what in the F am I reading? Jeannie, you need Jesus. But it is so good. So over on my BookTube channel, Peter Likes Books, I'll link it below. I am doing a read-along for the Pumpkin Spice Cafe. And I also just started the Cozy Mystery Book Club. But over my TV channel, I am doing reactions to Sister Wives. So today, it all ties together. In my head, it all makes sense. I know it doesn't, but in my head, it all makes sense. So I had threatened is the appropriate word. I had threatened that I was going to go back to season 1, episode 1, and I was going to start watching Sister Wives from the very beginning, okay? And I was actually going to start this a couple weeks ago, but then some very smart person, I don't know who they were, but they commented on so I also have a vlog channel. I have a vlog channel, I got a movie channel, I got a channel where I just talk about lessons I've learned in my life called Peterisms. I've got a review channel where I do funny reviews of food. What else do I have? I got so many channels, I don't even know what the channels are anymore. I got channels coming up my ass. But anyway, so I got this vlog channel, and on my vlog channel, I just sit on the front porch and I talk about my life, and I talk about what TV shows I'm watching, and what the dogs have been doing, and what my husband and I have been doing. I talk about like lessons in my life, things I learned, my mom, my dad, stepmom, my cousin Caroline, friends of mine. I talk about everything over there, being in recovery, all that kind of stuff. So anyway, I was talking about wanting to go back and watch Sister Wives from season 1, and somebody said, some very smart person, said, well, maybe you should wait until you finish the book, because if you finish the book, then you'll have, like, all the knowledge of Christine. I was like, that is so smart. So I finished the book this weekend. And last night, I watched episode 1, season 1 of Sister Wives. I took notes. I love to take notes when I watch the shows. And today on my Peter Watches TV channel, I am doing my reaction to season 1, episode 1, Meet Cody and the Wives. It's a different Sister Wives, y'all. I'm telling you right now, I forgot. Like, going back and watching it, I forgot. And Christine is so different in episode 1, and she kind of talks a little bit about it in the book, but she's so different in episode 1 in season 1 than she is in season 20. I mean, like, it is well, in the book, she talks a lot about, like being very conscious of her body and things like that, which it really made me sad reading a lot of those parts. I struggle with that as well. And I really related to what she was talking about in the book. I mean, as somebody that gets on camera every day, like, you see what you look like on camera, you know? And I've shared this before. When I started my BookTube channel, which would have been 9.5 years ago, I was sitting in front of the camera. I just wanted so bad. I love to read. I just wanted so bad to be part of BookTube. And I was like, I can remember looking at myself in the camera and being like, wait 6 months until you've lost some weight, because people are going to make fun of you for being so heavy, and then come back and make the video. And I was like, no, because if you wait, you'll never make that first video. You'll never do it. And I'm so glad that I didn't allow my body dysmorphia and my body issues to stand in the way of me chasing my dreams, because YouTube has been one of the greatest things. I'm so grateful for you guys watching my videos. Like, I mean, to say that my job is to watch Sister Wives, I mean, like, that is so fun. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm so grateful for all of you that have helped me through the years. So thank you so much, and continue to watch my videos. And it's, you know, if I had allowed myself to not pursue my dreams because of that, you know, insecurity in my head, and that negative talk and that negative tape in my head. So I think I related a lot to that in Christine's book. And she also talks about how she's very aware of how she sounds on camera and things like how she presents herself on camera. Well, when you watch her today, like, let's say seasons 19, 18, and 17, she seems very affected when she speaks. I almost, to be honest with you, I almost didn't want to read the audiobook, and I wanted to listen to her read it in her own voice, but I almost kind of didn't want to, because at the same time, sometimes she's very off-putting to me, because she almost kind of has a condescending tone to her. And so for me, I was like, I don't know that I really want to listen to this book from Christine's, you know, like, because she sometimes is condescending, or it appears that way to me, you know? And but when you go back and watch episode 1, it's a different Christine. I think what happened over time is that she'll talk about in the book, like, which episode not all of them, but, like, she'll say, I didn't watch that episode or whatever. And they watched all the episodes. I think she became hyper conscious of herself on camera. So that part was really, really interesting to me. So let's get into the book a little bit. There was nothing that was that mind-blowing to me about the book. So before I read it, my best friend Tanya had read it, and I said, what'd you think about it? And she was like, it was okay. She's like, if you've watched Sister Wives, you know everything that's in the book. And I was like, seriously? Because I thought that she was going to expose some secrets and stuff. She goes, there's a couple things in there. And I'm trying to think right now, like, the things that surprised my friend were not the things that surprised me. And I had, before I had read the book too, I had seen a lot of things online that people had taken pictures. Like, people were taking pictures of the book. There's a chapter ends, and it says, she writes something, this is not verbatim, but she says something like nacho wife anymore, like nacho, like N-A-C-H-O. And I was like, well, what's that about? And I kept on seeing this come up, that people were putting it. I actually love it in the book. What it refers to is, okay, first of all, I will tell you, I think she was fair to Cody. And even in her fairness, it so comes through what an ass Cody Brown is. And especially to his kids. Like, how he just never showed up. And it was interesting because she talks a lot about asking for Cody's help with, like, Truly and the other kids, and like after she had Truly and stuff like that. And he would say, you need to lead on your other sister wives. And he would say things like he had to go and put Robin's kids to bed. Well, one of the things that was interesting to me was when I watched last night, episode 1, Cody says in there, he says, I always want to be able to kiss all of my kids goodnight and tuck in my kids every night. He says that in episode 1. So to find out that Robin moves in and then he doesn't even care about the other kids anymore, he just wants to put Robin's kids to bed. I don't know, it's like, I have a lot of feelings in retrospect, and having read the book and then going back and watching episode 1 is really interesting to me, knowing everything that we know now. And that was kind of why I wanted to read the book and go back and start watching from episode 1. I don't know that I'm going to watch every episode. I know a lot of them have been taken down, but you can still find them online. And I have watched every episode of Sister Wives up till the newest one that's coming out. Like, I've watched every episode that's come out. So anyway, but the nacho part refers to, they would go on these road trips. And this was before she was actually married to Cody. And they would stop and get snacks and stuff like that. And Christine don't lie about being a foodie. And I'm a foodie. I love food. And I love snacks for a road trip. And so she's talking about it in there. And she would get nacho fries. And Cody later said something to her about, like, she had gained weight. He's very weight conscious. She had gained a lot of weight and whatever. And he said something about the fries. And so she was like, why did you even marry me? Like, I don't understand. She infers, and this has come out a lot, that Cody married Christine because she was basically royalty within their religion. Like, at the beginning of the book, she goes in, I loved the beginning of the book. So the beginning of the book, she goes in and she talks a little bit about her childhood. And she talks about this, so she goes in and describes the difference between the LDS church, the FLDS church, and how they are in the middle of it. Now I've had this in my head all weekend what they are. I can't remember it now. But anyway, they're kind of like a spin-off of the LDS church that still believes in polygamy. It's the AU, oh God. Oh, why, I'm gonna have to look this away. I'll fly away, oh glory, I'll fly away. Okay, if I don't look this up, then 100 people will correct me. Okay. Okay, apostolic, okay. I've been trying to remember this all weekend. The family on the TV show Sister Wives belongs to the Apostolic United Brethren, AUB, a Mormon fundamentalist group that practices polygamy, which was disavowed by the mainstream Church of Latter-day Saints Church in 1890. So she goes in and she describes it at the beginning of the book about the differences in the different religions. She talks about the LDS Church, talks about the FLDS Church. She talks about Warren Jeffs. She has a very, very negative attitude about, I mean, well, why wouldn't you, you know? But she has a very negative attitude towards Warren Jeffs. She actually brings him up several times in the book. And she talks about having grown up in a polygamous family and having 2 mothers. She talks about her grandfather being murdered because he was a polygamist. And being arrested and then murdered because he was a polygamist. She goes in there and talks about that. Some of the things at the beginning of the book that I loved. I wish she would have gone in a little bit more about her childhood at the beginning of the book. She goes in and she paints this picture of her mother being kind of like a very liberal sister wife, and also her other mother within this sister wife community, and how, like, a lot of people believe that, like, sex is just for procreation, but, like, in the practice that they have, that they can also enjoy sex, and that her mom believed in that too. And the one thing out of the book that I love the most was that they weren't supposed to celebrate Halloween. And one Halloween, she and her siblings woke up, and their moms had, like, they had dressed up, like, as witches, and they, like, well, she said green paint on their face, and they, like, served them cereal or something out of these cauldrons, and it was, like, one of her best memories ever. I don't know, it was just, like, memories like that I really, really loved about the book. So, the kind of overview of the book is, that's very short part of the book. Then she goes in and she talks about meeting Cody, and how she met Cody, and falling in love with Cody, and that, it was interesting because in episode 1, when I was watching it last night, she said something to the effect of, like, she fell hard for Cody, but it took him a lot longer to fall in love with her, which she kind of insinuates in the book. So then she talks about meeting Cody and getting, becoming part of the family. And then it kind of, like, talks about, like, the picking up the show and how they got the show, and that they, like, did this thing in New York City, and then, like, they pitched the show, and then they wanted to go with the show. They're a lot more, like, from her point of view, they were a lot more in getting the show and pushing the show than I thought. I thought it was, like, TLC just, like, reached out to them and said, we have this idea for a show. It wasn't that. It was, like, they were a lot more behind the scenes than, and I really love that she discussed a lot about production. She talked about, like, things that I would never have thought about. She talked about, like, they had to wear their undergarments. I don't know why it never clued into me. They kind of stopped wearing them, like, I think, like, on season 3 or 4. But the long sleeve t-shirts, I didn't even realize. I just thought it was the fashion at the time. Those are the undergarments that they wear. But she says a lot of times they don't wear them for filming because they had the lights on them and all this kind of stuff. And so it was really hot. So they wouldn't wear their undergarments. But if you go back to episode 1, they all have them on underneath their clothes. Because I looked for them last night. That was interesting to me. And then she talks about, like, I mean, the book is very brief, honestly. It kind of, like, floats over stuff. Talks about this, it talks about that, it talks about them moving to Las Vegas, it talks about them moving to Flagstaff, it talks about her leaving Cody, her meeting David, and then the book's kind of done. I thought it would talk a lot more about her friendship with Janelle. It really didn't. It talked a little bit about it. One of the things that did surprise me was that her and Janelle really weren't that close. I mean, they were close, but they weren't as close as they seem on TV now until later years. That kind of surprised me. That was one of the things that surprised me. The number one thing that surprised me the most, and really surprised me when I was watching episode 1 last night, was that I think it was 10 years before the show even started. It was 10 years into the marriage. No, it was 10 years into the marriage. There was an incident with McKelty and Mary at the grocery store. And I read a lot about this online. So this was known, apparently, before. But it was like McKelty corrected Mary about something to do with change. Like, they were like, it was like over 10 cents or something like that, that she talks about in the book. And Mary kind of scolded McKelty. Now, what's interesting about this is that there's been a lot of allegations that have come out from a couple of the kids and some, and I think Christine was one of the people too, that Mary was, like, allegedly abusive to some of the kids. I was kind of surprised she didn't really talk about that in the book. She didn't talk about it at all in the book. She talked about how Mary ran a very tight ship and was like really clean, needed really clean space, and had a lot of rules, and the kids didn't want to go over there because of her rules and stuff like that. But she doesn't really ever say anything. Well, she doesn't say anything at all about Mary being abusive. I mean, maybe from a legal point of view, she wasn't going to put that in a book. I don't know. But what surprised me was that 10 years into the marriage, she, like, cut Mary completely off. Like, she talks, this is at the beginning of the book. I mean, she talks about how, like, over the situation with McKelty, she was done. Like, she told Mary, she said, I don't want you to talk to me, and I don't want you to talk to the kids anymore. You will not have anything to do with me or the kids anymore. She, like, sets a boundary. And I was like, well, that's interesting, because when y'all started the show, like, you seemed like you got along. Then I go and I watch episode 1 last night, and during the interviews, Christine and Mary are sitting on the couch together. There's a whole scene in there where Mary's pulling, she's the tooth puller, and her and Christine are laughing back and forth. I'm like, how is this, like, I don't know, like, was it so fake from the beginning? So that was probably, in all honesty, the number one thing that surprised me the most. I knew her and Mary didn't get along. I knew that. I didn't know that line had been set. I mean, I know when I say some of these things that surprised me, you guys will be like, how'd you watch 19? I don't get online and watch all the TikToks and all that. I don't do all that. I just watch the show. So that surprised me. The other thing that surprised me was how rampantly they drank, because they made huge issues out of it on the show. Like, I remember when they went, what was it, to Seattle or something like that, or San Francisco, I think it was Seattle, and they, like, to pick out Robin's wedding dress or whatever that was, and they were all, like, freaking out in the bar, and Robin was like, I'm not gonna have a beer, and blah, 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 whatever, and they're all, like, freaking out over ordering a beer, to find out that, like, season 1, they were drinking in their houses. Like, she talks about, like, Moscow Mules. She talks about having beer. She talks about, like, as soon as the set was down for the day, and that she had so much going on that she would enjoy a drink. I mean, Christine talks about drink. I mean, so when you see in season 19 or season 18, I don't know which one it is, when she meets David and she's, like, drinking on the boat, and, like, the whole scene last year with, like, Janelle going to the bar and having a shot, like, that may have been Janelle's first shot in the bar, but that definitely was not Janelle's first drink. Like, she talks about how they all would have drinks. They would all sit around and have glasses of wine. You know, Robin and acting like she couldn't even have a beer because Cody would get so upset about it. And Christine talks about how, like, there's, like, I know this camera is, like, I'm using a new tripod today, I apologize. But she talks about how, like, they would have wine, and, like, I think she says Janelle would come over for, like, a glass of wine, or Mary would. And it's like, then I saw that people were clocking online that at, like, Robin and Cody's house, there's, like, bottles of wine in the background and stuff like that. So they obviously drank. I mean, they're not part of the religion today. So, but I was like, they made such a huge deal about it in the early seasons. It was almost kind of like reading the book, going back and watching episode 1 with having seen all the seasons. It's like, see, episode 1, they were trying to present what they thought the world wanted to see of what they were supposed to be. I don't know. It just was bizarre. But like I said, I'm trying not to get into my reaction of episode 1, because I want to do that on my TV channel. So the things that really surprised me, number 1, she refers to the family the entire time through the book as the Cody Brown family, which I thought was really interesting. I think it was also, she's done it before on the TV show, but I definitely think it was a deliberate choice that she calls it the Cody Brown family. I think that she does it so much in the book that at first I kind of was like, well, that's kind of weird that she calls it, but then she deliberately calls it. I think it's a differentiation between her family now and the family that she had with Cody. I think it's also kind of like a dig at the fact that it was Cody's family, like he was running it. And she wants to make that a very, very, like, clear differentiation that that was Cody's family. Like, Cody was at the head of the family and he was not running it appropriately. This is what I was going to say earlier. There's been a lot of, like, she goes in the beginning and she talks about, like, her family, and her family was very well known within, like, and her grandfather was, like, at the top of the hierarchy of their religion and things like that. And that Cody married her because she was supposedly, like, royalty within their religion. Which is interesting because when you go back and you watch, I'd kind of forgotten this. Cody's dad did not convert to polygamy. They were just LDS until he was 20 years old. Which, if you think about this, is kind of strange. I was thinking about it last night. Like, think about yourself at 20 years old, okay? So, Cody's 20, living in Wyoming on a ranch, when his dad decides he's going to be a polygamist and take a second wife. Then Cody gets involved with this church organization at 20, okay? And becomes very heavily involved in this Apostolic United Brethren Church, okay? Then he's, like, running youth groups, which is how Christine meets him. She talks about that, okay? I mean, to some degree, I don't know, but, like, then he gets, like, so enamored with this religious sect that apparently Christine, who is seen as, like, religious royalty, is one of the reasons. She doesn't say this in the book. People have speculated about this. I think she does actually say something about this in the book, now that I think about it. I think she does say that Cody joked about how he married royalty. But anyway, it's interesting to me, you know, that I wish she would have gotten more into the background of it. I will say this. So she goes in and she describes the differences between, in a very layman's kind of way, the LDS Church, the FLDS Church, and the Apostolic United Brethren. She goes in and explains that differently. The only other book, and I watch a lot of these shows and stuff, that has broken it down, I think, like, she did a great job of breaking it down, was, now, what's Lori Vallow, the one that killed her kids. Do you guys remember that? So I used to have a true crime book club. This is going to stop in a second. Hold on. Okay, I didn't know this was going to get, I didn't know this was going to get so long today. So I used to have a true crime book club that I ran with my good friend Mel. Hey Mel, how are you? We retired it after 5 or 6 years. We felt like we had read everything that we wanted to read. We are starting a thriller book club coming in 2026. Anyway, so we read the book When the Moon Turns to Blood about Lori and Chad Vallow, or Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow, about they killed her kids. Well, they are part of the LDS Church, but they kind of went off into this, like, man, I don't know what is wrong with the LDS church, but it's got all these weird factions. Okay, so they got into this, like, and listen, I'm somebody that I love psychics and stuff like that. I do. I love a good psychic medium. Okay, but they start falling into this whole psychic medium thing about the LDS church and all this kind of stuff. So in that book, The Moon Turns to Blood, they go in, and it's like 3 chapters. They break down, like, the triangle of the LDS church, and they go into depth describing the LDS church. So having that foundation was interesting, hearing her talk about it, and how, like, women can't be pastors within the LDS church, and then her mom always thought that was, like, shit and stuff like that. So Christine's view of the LDS church and the FLDS church, it was interesting as somebody growing up in all of that, and her view on it now. It was really interesting to hear from Christine's point of view. Apparently, and I had asked recently, there are people that are like family members of like the Browns and have left the church and you have YouTube channels. You guys listed a bunch of them. Thank you. I put them all in my notes app. I'm going to go check them out because apparently they talk a lot about all this kind of stuff on there. So thank you guys for those recommendations. So that was interesting to me that she referred to it as the Cody Brown family. Through the whole book, she says the Cody Brown family. The friendship with Mary was like the #1 thing that surprised me the most. And then I think the second thing was probably how much alcohol they drank. Some of the things I found that were shocking, that were kind of sad, was the whole discussion of, and this is where the editing of TLC, which I've always taken a huge issue. Like, I was thinking about this when I was reading her book. If they had shown the truth from the beginning, I think the show, I don't know that the family would have lasted as long as it did, but I think the show would have even got 10 times better ratings than it did, because it's so edited what they show. She goes in and she talks about Truly being born, or Truly being sick. I, in all honesty, had kind of forgotten about this because it's in the earlier seasons. And it's when Truly has to be rushed to the hospital. And then she ends up having kidney issues and things like that. That was a big, big part of the show. I can remember, like, I didn't know anything about the family when I was watching that, not knowing, like, what was going to happen with Truly. Thank God she's okay. But not knowing anything that was going to happen with that. To hear Christine talk about it, and, like, Cody just was like, she's like, we need to take her to the emergency room. And Cody's like, she just needs glasses. Like, they don't show any of that on the show. They show Cody as a very concerned father on the show. And I think that's such bullshit, because Christine, she insinuates that everybody behind the scene knew that Cody was, like, just completely disinterested, and that had to be there for Robin and her kids, and so Truly could just wait. And then she ends up calling the doctor, and the doctor's like, you need to get her to the emergency room now. But then this is where she kind of flips back and forth, because she's like, and Cody was great, and Cody was there the whole time. I'm like, Cody, you just said that your daughter that needed to be rushed to the emergency room just needed glasses? I don't know. Like, she paints a very... She doesn't paint necessarily a negative picture of Cody towards the wives always. I mean, she makes herself very much an active participant in what happened in her marriage. But she really paints a really negative picture of Cody with his kids. It doesn't surprise me, looking back now, that a lot of the kids don't want relationships with Cody. Because Cody was definitely a different father to the other kids. It's really sad. When you go back and watch episode 1, the kids are so small. I mean, I think Logan's like 16, and I mean, they're like all really, really small. I gotta move my leg. My leg is falling asleep. And so to see that so many of them now don't have relationships with their father and everything that's happened, you know, and it's like when you read Christine's book, it kind of brings it all together and makes sense. I mean, he was a shit father. I mean, he was an absolute shit father, and she's even fair to him, and you can see that she was a shit father. Like, the whole situation with, like, Isabel, that was another shocking part of the book. When Isabel has to go for her surgery, and it's after the lockdown, or during the lockdown, and Cody's like, I can't believe that you're going to go and do all this kind of stuff, and whatever, and and insinuates that Isabel can go and stay with Christine's sister. I mean, part of this was shown in the show, but, like, the links that Christine goes to and explains, like, that Isabel was, I don't remember this from the episode, but she talks about the cameras were rolling. I remember the scene when Cody says he can't go, but I don't remember, like, she says the look on Isabel's face when she says something like, Dad, aren't you going to come? And he goes, oh, no, I can't go. And basically because of the lockdown. And Christine says the look on Isabel's face is just like she can't believe that her dad's not going to be there for her. And what's interesting about that is that she didn't talk about it in the book, but if you guys remember, right after that, Cody went and officiated his friend's wedding. So it was like he could go and officiate during the lockdown and the rules. He could go and officiate the friend's wedding, but he couldn't go for his own daughter's surgery. It was a lot of stuff like that that was really, really sad throughout the book. You know, and Christine goes in and talks a lot about Gabriel in the book. Gabriel's always been one of the kids I've just like, I mean, he's just such a sweet kid.
And her talking about, like, Cody's interactions with Gabriel and stuff like that. And then I think later to when, like, Gabriel was one of the only kids that ever really, like, on camera confronted his dad. And Cody took no responsibility for it, you know? Like, you can talk about that kid. I mean, he is a tough kid, that Gabriel. So, anyway, that was one of the Isabel surgery was the thing that surprised me. Also, at the beginning of it, this part really surprised me. So, okay, he buys each, I don't really know how it works. Okay, he buys each of the wives, like, an engagement ring, okay? But then when they come into the family, they get, like, a Claudia ring, right? Do you remember the Claudia rings? Okay. I always thought that was so funny. I have so many people that I know in my life that have the Claudia rings. And so now when I see them with their Claudia rings on, all I think is sister wives. So anyway, because I remember when they started talking about that at the beginning. And so when each of, like, the wives would have, like, an anniversary, they would get, like, a diamond chip or a diamond or something. Like, she goes and talks about Mary's ring and Janelle's ring. They would get, like, something. And she wanted just a diamond chip in her Claudia ring, right? Okay. So, actually, this is at the very end of episode 1. They show it going into episode 2, where Cody proposes to Robin with a ring. And so, they're, like, at church or something, or at dinner. I don't know where they are. But she looks down. She wants this ring so bad. And Cody's like, we don't have the money for it, blah, 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 whatever. Oh, that was one of the things that was interesting to me. I don't know if I wrote it on here. But she talks about the money from the show bought him his Lexus, his sports car. And she says something about, like, am I getting this wrong? I feel like she said the money from the show. What's interesting to me about that is, then did they get paid before episode 1? Because he's driving that Lexus in episode 1. Because she's talking about how, like, the car becomes such a joke. Because, like, it was just so, like, everybody thought that that's who Cody was. And she's like, but he didn't even get the sports car. Anyway, the sports car thing was kind of interesting to me. But all she wanted for, I think it was her 10-year anniversary or something like that, was this diamond chip. And he was like, we don't have the money for that. But then she finds out that he goes and he buys on his own this ring for Robin. And she's like, what? Like, you went and did this, and she's like, this, like, special Claudia ring, and she's like, you did that, you knew that this was something special to me. So then she takes her Claudia ring and she pitches it out into a field. Apparently, this comes up later. One of the producers interviews her or something like that. I kind of remember that a little bit. They were in therapy when it comes up. And she's like, yeah, I pitched it. And the therapist is kind of like, they went to therapy off and on all through the years. Like, that it never really stuck. Then she goes in and she talks a lot about the lockdown rules and, like, all this kind of stuff. And then she talks about leaving Cody. She talks a lot about, it's interesting to me, when you listen to the book, like I said, there were no huge, like, surprises that came out about it. I'm kind of surprised I see so much stuff online. It's like articles are written every day about, like, Christine exposes it. There was nothing that was that surprising to me in the book. I mean, overall, like, what I took, well, I'll get to this in a second, but overall, what I took away from it was, like, it was even, like, masked around, like, who Christine was before she met Cody, like, who she would be after it, and then, like, her becoming her own person, independent person, all this kind of stuff. That kind of surprised me. Some of the things I thought, like, that they left out is, I think if they would have talked about, like, the alcohol early on, you know, like, to just, like, I don't know, like, that was so weird to me. Or, like, in episode 1, Mary kind of addresses jealousy with Robin, but then they don't really ever, like, they bring it up every 5th episode or something like that. They don't talk a whole lot about it again. And so, like, through the years, they don't talk a lot about it. It comes up from time to time, but they don't talk tons about it. That was a huge part. Like, it's interesting because, I'm going to bring this up in my TV review, but Christine makes a comment in the book, or about, like, jealousy with Robin and Robin coming into it and all this kind of stuff. But in the show, she acts like she's very, very supportive. Now, Christine is the one person, okay, when you watch episode 1, that she's like, I'm not really sure, like, how I feel about getting a 4th wife. She's like, I'm good with 3 wives. So from the get-go with Robin coming in, she's like, I'm not really sure how I feel about that, which is kind of interesting. But overall, I thought she was really fair. I didn't think, like, anything came out. She's very, like, she talks about Garrison in it. She talks about the tree that they planted for Garrison. I mean, the part that she writes about Garrison is beautiful. I don't know if she had this book ghostwritten or if she wrote it. I thought it was beautifully written. It really sounded like it came from Christine's heart. I thought she was very, very fair to a lot of people in the book. Even Mary, like, I don't know, I thought it showed Christine's heart of who she is as a person. I I mean, she could have come and just been like, I'm bringing the receipts. I also don't know that if she did that, like TLC wouldn't like not renew her contract if that was the book that she came out with. I don't know how any of that stuff works. So, I mean, if she had come out and exposed a bunch of shit, I don't know. I kind of expected more of it to be, you know, whatever. I mean, a lot of the things that like, she talks about how, like when they were moving, okay, that Cody really wanted to move out of Las Vegas because of the sports team coming, and that he was like, we got to get out of here because of the traffic and all this kind of stuff. I remember that episode, and he was like, we're going to lose value in the house and blah, 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 so they move. And she's like, then she found out that, why can't I think of his name? Dakota? What's that kid's, why can't I think of, he's not in the shows anymore. But anyway, why can't I think of Robin's son? What's his name? Dayton. That Dayton was like enrolled at the University of Northern Arizona or Southern, whatever. And so that was why they were moving to Flagstaff. Then she was pissed because she was like, so Robin, I have to move my kids. I can't, because Cody at the time was like, well, you can just like move and the kids can stay here and go to school. And she's like, so I have to move away from my kids because 2 of her daughters had just gotten married. And so, or no way. Yeah, Aspen was getting married. How does it work? Okay, Maddie had just gotten married. McKelty just got married, and she's leaving them behind and then moving to Flagstaff because, so she's having to leave her kids, but Robin can't leave her kid. And that, there was a lot of that in the book, but none of that surprised me. I thought the book was really done. I ended up on Goodreads, and at 5 stars, I gave it 4 stars. I mean, I thought it was an interesting read. I will tell you, if you're a fan of Sister Wives and you're not a big reader, I don't know that I would push this book. Like, if you're like, I want to read it because I'm a fan of Sister Wives, but am I going to find out? You're not going to find out a bunch of stuff. You're just not. Like, it's not that big of a deal. I thought she would expose a little bit more secrets. It really, to be honest with you, the parts I found the most interesting were kind of like the culture behind having a reality TV show. And those were only glimpses that she gave, where she would talk about like they had to walk to the set. She didn't even really get into explaining that. I'm like, what do you mean walking to the set? I think she meant the set where they would do like interviews and things like that. And then she would talk about how long the days were for filming and that they would only film like every couple days. And I mean, I already know this with reality TV, but she would say they would only film like when we were doing something. Like if we were having like a family get together. So we would have a family get togethers. So then again, the TV show is very contrived. But a lot of reality TV is really contrived. The housewives are like that. They'll have like these lunches so that they, you know, have to film something. So the behind the scenes, she's very like sweet towards the production. I mean, she's like, you know, production grew up with us. We like knew them, then they got married, had kids, they settled down, had their own families. She talks about one of the guys that was like one of the executive producers. I can't remember his name. I think it was Tim or John or something like that. And she says like he was like one of the main producers for the entire thing. And when she had to call him to tell him that she was leaving Cody, because apparently she called so the scene with the knife in the kidney, you know, like wasted love. She says it, the line verbatim in the book, that he says in there. But like they all knew before, like she told each of them, she told Mary, she told each of them. So they were surprised on the show, but they all knew because she felt like she wanted them to hear it from her before they filmed it on TV. So she told the executive producer, I can't remember his name, was Tim or something like that. And so when he met with her and Cody, he was like, this is not what I want this show to be about. Like, I don't want this show. And that was interesting to me because he was like, I don't want this show to be about a family falling apart. And I think that she said something like the next season he resigned and left. I think that's interesting because if the executive producer's goal for this show was to show this family that was always intact and always together, but that wasn't really what was going on behind the scenes because really none of them could stand each other. I mean, Janelle, in watching episode 1, I mean, she's like, yeah, like if I want to go to a movie, Christine just takes care of the kids. I'd rather go to work than be at home with my kids. Like, I can remember like going back, and I like Janelle now, but I can remember on season 1 being like, she don't even want to be at home. She don't care about these kids. She don't care about none of this. She didn't. And it changed kind of over time, I guess. But, you know, I mean, she's real funny in episode 1. But like, I don't feel like we ever have, from the get-go, ever gotten, you know, the truth. You know, it's interesting to me that there's all this speculation about, like, why did Robin come into the family? I mean, Robin gets so much negativity. She was very, very fair to Robin in the book. Like, she was like, you know, Robin was good to her kids. Robin, like, she would go to Robin and talk to her about things. The only thing that she was upset about was, like, she would say things to Robin and then Cody would come back to her because Robin would say those things to her. But, like, if you think about it in the context of, like, a close group of people, right? I don't think it always has turned, and listen, I am a person that is not fair to Robin, okay? But I think it would happen like this. Like, Christine would say to Robin, like, she goes in there and talks about Cody was never interested in having sex with her, and she would, like, she wanted massages, and she's like, I'm not doing no more foot rubs on you, all this kind of stuff. Like, she doesn't really, like, they're talking about how, like, she's exposing the sex life of Cody. They don't really talk about the sex life of Cody and her at all, except for that, oh, this was weird, that he always wanted her to wear her undergarments when they had sex, and if she didn't wear her undergarments, then she had to wear lingerie, and it wasn't because it turned him on, like, that he just didn't want to see her body. So he's got all this body issue stuff. I don't know what that's about. That part was shocking to me, and that she was always really hurt by that. Well, of course she would be. That was sad. Her talking about her body issues to me were like, that was really sad, because she doesn't really talk about it much on it. And then she talked about Sister Wives Closet for like 2 seconds. She was like, we were really supportive of Robin starting a brand. I was like, She even talks about, like, Mary opening the B&B, and she's like, yeah, we were all really supportive of it because it was a good investment. Like, and Mary buying her, and I'm like, that is not how it went on this show. Like, Christine, you need to go back and watch that episode. That is not, y'all fought Mary on that B&B. You fought her on that B&B. That is not how it went. So, some of the things I was like, her memory is maybe a little skewed on how she remembers things. But anyway, but she's pretty fair with Robin, and I think, like, this one scene, she's talking something about, like, she tells Robin something about, she's not going to do foot rubs on Cody anymore, or he won't massage her, or something like that. And then he comes back and he says something to her. But I think she was like, I don't know that, like, Robin was going, and I heard you won't do massages. I think it was like, Cody, you need to be a better wife to Christine. I'm not sure that that's how it started with Robin, that Robin wasn't trying to be the sister wife that they wanted her to be, and it never worked for her. And so she's just like, fuck it, then I'm going to be out for myself. I don't know. But it's interesting going back, because they say in episode 1, Robin could pick, basically, like, she's the commodity, right? Oh, funny, because people want to correct me all the time and say that Robin actually was a Diesel Jeans model. No, she never was. And Christine says in the book, he always referred to her as, she makes a joke about it, as his Diesel Jeans model, okay? And she says something, too, about, like, if you're not, I thought she was going to get into the camping trip. She didn't get into all that stuff. But anyway, she does talk about the camping trip. She talks about Cody bringing his friend so he can go on the boat. The friend that said, you can get rid of your wives and just have one of them. And she was pissed about that. There's a lot of that kind of stuff in there. But I feel like I knew all of that from watching the show. But it's interesting going back and hearing about them approaching Robin. And did Robin want to be part of this family knowing that they were going to start this show? Okay? Because he's courting her, like, as they're getting the show. Like, so, okay, they do the show, and they do the pilot for the show, and then they go watch it, and TLC and everybody is just like, we want this show. It's like, they are like, this show is going to, like, it's going to take off. Then they, like, I think during that time is when they approach Robin and, like, is she okay to be on camera? And so it's interesting to me that in the first episode, Christine says, well, Robin could have picked anybody, and she picked us, so it's not really us picking her, it's her picking us. And I thought, or was it Robin picking Fame all along? I don't know. But it doesn't matter, because she's not your wife anymore. Oh, my favorite thing was at the very end. She's talking about David's favorite episodes, that when they went on the second date, they talked about it, and she was like, oh, so you know who I am, or something like that. And he's like, yeah, I've watched the show. His sister was a polygamist. And so he's like, yeah, I've watched some of the show. And he says something to her like, Cody's like a real ass or something. That's kind of like the winning thing. I like David a lot. But anyway, she says in there that David's favorite episodes were the ones that were the most toxic. Or she doesn't say it like that, but where they fought. And he goes, it got boring sometimes because you guys never fought. And I was like, exactly, TLC. That's what we want. We want the truth. We want the fights. Okay, we want Janelle. Like, it was interesting to me, like, she said that she didn't know about, like, Janelle telling Cody to fuck you. Like, I love that scene until she watched the scene. Like, they didn't know a lot of what was going on in each other's lives, yet they were sister wives. And they had no clue what was going on in each other's lives. And yet we were told to believe through the show. So I think she really shows the bullshittery of the show. Is that a word? But I don't know. If it isn't, I like it, bullshittery. She shows the bullshittery of what the show was, but then she's so thankful for the show. I mean, it's kind of like if you go to a wedding and you just, like, eat, like, the frosting off the cake. That's kind of what the book was to me. So I don't know, but how are you going to come out 3 years later and write another book when the show's over and be like, now let me tell you the real, I'll still read it. I will. But I'd like to know what you guys found interesting or surprising in the book. Put it in the comment section below. Don't forget to watch my Sister Wives coverage of the new season, season 20, starting next week on my Peter Watches TV channel listed below. And also today I will be doing a reaction to season 1, episode 1. I love you guys, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.